You're listening to the Cantina Cast, your home for thought-provoking Star Wars talk. Join Albert and Jonesy in breaking down the latest news, trailers, movies, and of course, your favorite characters from a galaxy far, far away.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cantina Cast. My name is Albert Padilla, and this is the first of a series of bonus episodes that we are calling Cantina Cast Alumni. So, as most of you know, we are amidst the 10th anniversary of the Cantina Cast, which started back in 2011, and we've had a whole host of different types of shows and special content. We've done some special imagery, and we're going to keep this birthday celebration going as long as we can until you're sick of it. But I'm pretty excited about this one. So one of the things, that over the years, there have been a lot of people that have contributed to the success of the show in many different ways. Everything from, podcasting hosts to at one point there was a website and there was content being published. And this was an opportunity, I felt like, to go back to some of those folks and say thank you, first and foremost, but then also kind of get caught up. If you're like me, I came in relatively well within the number of years after the Cantina Cast had started. And so I wasn't really, I didn't know some of these folks. I do now. And one of the guests we're going to talk about, I know pretty well. But it's an opportunity to kind of really reach back out to there and reintroduce some of the folks that actually helped build the show to where it's at today. And so without further ado, I'd like to welcome on the very first guest in this series of shows, Miss Becca Benjamin. Becca, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing well. This is it's so exciting. I haven't been in the cantina in quite some time. So thanks for leaving the little light on and a little table in the back. That's great.
Yes. You've got the little VIP. Your name's on like one of the plaques in the back somewhere, I'm sure. Right?
Awesome. With a little gold shiny star.
Yep.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you for being on here and thank you for being the first guest. I don't want to spoil anything. I've already reached out. You were instrumental in helping me get a list of some of the folks that we're potentially going to be reaching out to and bringing on. So I want to say thank you for kicking this off, and no pressure, but I'm sure they come on whether or not, based on how well you do. So again, knock it out of the park if you can.
I'll do my best.
No, so welcome. So just quickly, for some of our listeners, some of our viewers tonight, maybe if you could just kind of tell us about what it is you're doing today in Star Wars. I know you wear a lot of proverbial hats. And we could probably do a whole show on this, but let's try to keep it to like 10 minutes or less. Tell me what you're involved in on a day-to-day Star Wars basis at this point.
Wow. I'm glad I wrote all this down. So as it stands right now, I am owner and co-host of two podcasts, Tarkin's Topshelf. My co-host there is Mark Suter. We review the books. Alongside of that, we do interviews with certain authors, interviews with voice actors, anyone, that has somehow had something to do with literature at some aspect of it. So we do that. Yep. That's about every other week or so. And then I have Kanata's Castle with Red 5 Mom.
Red 5 Mom, yep.
And she's always standing by. And that's just kind of like anything Star Wars goes. It doesn't matter where you are in your fandom or in your journey through the galaxy far, far away. We're there for you. It doesn't matter. There's no judging. We just have a good time. That now is under the umbrella of what I like to call the Pitiful Little Band Podcast Network.
And that is something very recent that you guys started. So tell us more about that.
That's an umbrella for Idiots Array Pod, Tarkin's Topshelf, and Kanata's Castle. History, actually, in the Cantina Cast. When Mike and Joa were ready to branch out and start a couple new little side things, they decided to do a couple different podcasts because they wanted to do their own little network.
Yeah.
This is how it started. Mm-hmm. But they needed the people and they needed show ideas and what their concept was going to be. And they needed titles. I did the actual titling of Idiots Array. That was me. And and then I also titled Tarkin's Top Shelf because originally that was supposed to be Tea with Tarkin. But if you listen to the title, it's a little too close to someone we already know in the podcasting realm.
Yes.
So that had
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Right, no, keep going. Yes.
We kept those stuff under the whole pub, like cantina bar type thing, because Idiots Array is based on a sabacc game. So, which you usually play in a cantina, right? In the galaxy far, far away. And Tarkin's Top Shelf was his top shelf, either liquor or books, however you want to look at it. Right. So that's how those all followed under the Cantina Cast. So pretty interesting little history there, but Yeah. So that's that in a nutshell. So we decided to all just, you know what, let's get back together. And Devin, of course, read my mom, she hopped on board with it. And now we're own little group. And once every other month or so, we'll go live like this and just say, and it's kind of like behind the podcasters, like behind the scenes, what we're doing, where we are in fandom, what we like, what's new, that kind of thing.
What you're reading, what you're watching, and all that. Yeah, awesome.
It's a lot of fun.
And so on top of that, so those are the shows, right? And I think that's all of them. That's enough. But you also have been doing some contributions to, I think, Fantha Tracks. And I know recently you named a painting or a piece of art, or maybe a couple now, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I have actually, the art is where I started. Believe it or not, when Hyperspace Blogs was a thing on the official Star Wars site, when it was new.
Yes, I remember that. Absolutely.
The dial-up, back when internet was just being born.
Yep.
As I like to say, I joined Hyperspace Blogs, and I would connect my blogs with a link because you couldn't post your fanfic. So you could put a link in your blog, and that's how you would get away with it with the moderators.
Yep.
So Steve Anderson, Lucasfilm artist, stumbled across my fanfic and reached out to me and said, I love your passion. I like what you're writing about. Would you be interested in going a little further and titling some art pieces? So that started in 2007. I've been titling for Steve Anderson since then. Star Wars Celebration prints. I've done Disney prints for him.
Yeah.
I've done Frozen. I've done Indiana Jones. I've done X-Files for him.
There you go.
So yeah, I recently just did, I think I can talk about it. He didn't say, I recently did a Mandalorian title for him, but that's all I can say.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. No, looking forward to that. That's awesome. I didn't realize it was that long. I had seen, I mean, you're pretty active on social media, and I do follow you there, of course, but I didn't realize it went that far back though, to 2007.
Yeah, 2007.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That
great.
long.
So yeah, you stay busy, right? I would say with a lot of Star Wars stuff. Okay, well let's do this. I want to get into the way the show works is I kind of want to, we can talk a little bit more about you, and then eventually I want to get into kind of some of the history with the Cantina Cast as well. But I got a couple personal questions, and I want you to give me all the dirt on the Cantina Cast. No, I'm kidding. No, that's not what we're doing. That's not this show.
Wrong show. Isn't that Cantina After Dark?
That's After Dark. Yes. So stick around. We're going to take this into the After Dark podcast room, and you'll get all the dirt. No, I want to start with, I guess, your entry into Star Wars fandom. For everyone, there's a story, right? Everybody comes into this fandom for different reasons, and sometimes the reason why we come into the fandom isn't necessarily the reason why we stay along with the fandom or why we stay here, correct?
Right.
So I kind of want to hear your story. When did this all start for you? I think you and I were talking about our ages, and we're very similar, so I can almost envision where this is going, but I want to know from you in your own words, how did this start for you?
I actually have two entry points, if that makes sense. My first starts probably 1977, 1978, when Star Wars, as it was.
Not A New Hope, just Star Wars. Yep.
Star Wars came out. My brother is 2 years older than I. So, of course, he'd already sent away for the toys and whatnot. And back then, toys were very gender specific. It's just the way the world was.
Yep.
And my mother, though, she was a huge sci-fi fan, anything science fiction. She was already into Star Trek, things like that. So this was my first theater experience. We all went as a family. And I just remember being swept up in this bigger than life, everything happening. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because I remember my birthday happened shortly after, and my mother took me and said, what do you want for your birthday cake? I was going to be 4. And I said, I want the guy in black, I wanted Darth Vader, however I said it. Yep. And she's like, well, don't you mean Princess Leia? No,
nope.
Darth Vader. So I literally had a Darth Vader birthday cake trimmed in pink icing. And this is my entry point. Like, I was just so caught up with Darth Vader. And I used to, my mom, if she was still here, she would tell you that the thing I would keep saying is, he needs a hug. He needs a hug.
Oh,
and
it's true. Now we know that. We know that to be true. All he really needs is a hug.
He needs a hug.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, that's where that started. And then, of course, by the time Return of the Jedi came out, I was 9. That was my Luke moment, though. My Darth Vader, I am your father, was when I found out that Luke and Leia were siblings. Mm-hmm. I was not a happy camper because before there was a term of shipping, I shipped them, and I was so devastated. Like, Han's a jerk. Like, I was just so mad.
Yes, yeah.
So, but again, I was 9. What do I know, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So, But once the prequels came out, that basically re-energized me so much.
Jump-started a lot of people, yeah.
Well, because now I was an adult, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was getting married for the first time, because, married twice now. And it was just I was going through my personal dark times. It was there was so much going on in my life and so much turmoil that the prequels actually was my therapy. It was my coping to get through everything. And when Revenge of the Sith came out, I was just like in this frenzy to learn more Star Wars. I would take the kids to the library, get them in the kids section, and I would go hunt Star Wars books. And back then they were coming out with all the Clone Wars books and the prequel books and all that stuff. And I was reading all those because that's where I wanted to dive into. I really didn't care about what Han and Luke and Leia were doing when they were 70. It just didn't thrill me. Sorry. I really wanted to know more about Anakin and, this downfall, it just was really captivating. Right. So I think that's when that happened. And then, like I said, then all of a sudden I found out there was this Star Wars website where you can, have a subscription and have a blog. And I met all these people and I met women for the first time, women that were just as nuts about it as I was. And I was like, I found a home, and it just unleashed from there. So really I have 2 entry points and it's been going strong since the prequels, like really strong. So
no, that's great. I mean, I was thinking the Chewie we're home kind of moment, right? For you there at the very end.
Yes.
And I don't know if you realize this, but so one of the first things you and I ever worked on was you had reached out. I think you wanted some work done on the Tarkin's Topshelf logo, and there was we added the pink or something to it. But when you said the cake, the first thing that came to mind is you realize like your logo is black with pink. Was that intentional because of the cake, or was that just a happy coincidence now?
I love those colors. Always have. It also, when it came to Tarkin, I remember I probably drove Mike nuts because we were trying to come up with a logo and I said, well, pink has to be in there. And he couldn't understand it. I'm like, no, I want bubblegum letters and 80s,
Sure.
And I want the pink because there was always this joke around Tarkin wearing slippers on set. And someone had once said that he wore pink bunny slippers.
Yes.
I'm like, that's where that comes from. So I wanted that to stay true to that. Yes. So I still have it.
Yes, and for the record, I make Mike mad just about every day. So I'm here to take over for you.
It's a good mad.
Yes, it is a good mad.
Yeah, it is.
Any cheap shots we can take at him, we certainly do that. So, okay, so that's kind of how you got into Star Wars, and I think you've kind of touched on this already. But what keeps you going? Like, what is it about Star Wars that captivates you even to this day? What do you love about it so much?
Oh my gosh, I think it's a story. I mean, there's something about the fact that sorry, I wrote things down. So I've got paper. See, look at this in my little Star Wars notebook. So for me, it's always been relatability. The mythos is intertwined with, I guess, humanity. There's so much that you can relate to, and it's not necessarily characters, but it's situations, what they're going through, loss, that struggle, love, found family. I mean, that's the huge one, right? And of course, being able to, I guess, say sorry and make up for something that you've done and have your family actually be there for you in the end, no matter what you've done in the past. And I think that strength, we all need to find that.
Yeah.
Because, you can really screw up in life, but that doesn't really say that's who you are, right? That's one thing. That's two things. That's not really who you are. So you made a mistake. And some mistakes are horrible, but does it mean that people shouldn't bring you back into their life because you screwed up horrendously? I think that's something, especially now where we are today, I think that's a huge thing because I think we all need to be able to give a little and not be so judgmental, and have some more heart. I think that's something that we all kind of need. And I think Star Wars is part of that.
Yeah.
So I gravitate towards that.
No, that is one of the stronger themes, right? Along with like family, the theme of love and forgiveness certainly resonates with me as well, right? I mean, just because like you said, because you've done things, horrible things, doesn't preclude you from being able to have some kind of a normal life or be happy at some point, or just, be forgiven, or at least be forgiven in the eyes of those that you love at some point as well. We should all be given that opportunity to do so. And there's so many countless examples of Star. I mean, we know the big ones with Anakin and Kylo Ren and Ben, all that. But if you think about it, even back into the legends and the comic books, it's just a reoccurring thing that happens, right? It's a trope, but it is one of the more powerful and one of the more profound themes in Star Wars that we find that I think a lot of people like yourself just immediately gravitate because it resonates, right? Those are real, that stuff happens to us in real life. We know those stories, we live those stories. And so, yeah, there's kind of a natural connection there. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to pick your children now because I know that you're a voracious reader and I know you read beyond just the Star Wars stuff, but I want to know from you. So again, if you've not listened to Tarkin's Topshelf, they go through all the books and highly recommend the show. And by the way, I've said this on the show many times. I have less than 5 shows that I still listen to, and only because of time, for no other reason than just time that I've got. And you guys, are one of them because I do rely on you guys for the reading stuff, and you get to the reading before I do, so that's always a bonus. I'm like, oh, they've already done the reading, so I'm going to listen and get their opinions. So that, whatever. But I know you read a lot, and I want to know from you, like, what is if you had to give me like your favorite book all time, maybe top 3 books or something like that, what are the ones for you? And you can go back into Legends, you can stick with canon, it's totally up to you.
Oh, wow. Well, I only picked the one because the way the question read, you wanted my top book.
Stay with
but
I
can go through more. That's fine. But my all-time favorite Star Wars book, gosh, I hope my co-host doesn't shoot me for this, will always be Revenge of the Sith. I'm sorry.
Oh, yes.
Matthew Stover, the way and there's a reason for this. It's the only book of its kind. I know it's the novelization of the movie. I get that, but it's in a way, it's its own entity. I look at Revenge of the Sith novel very similar to A New Hope on screen. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's one complete story. It's huge. It's poetry mixed with mythological storytelling and such great writing. I mean, the whole book, when you read about just Anakin, just him alone, if you want to just look at him, he's written in a very poetic way where you can already tell that at the pit of his stomach, there's something forming. It's growing. And he refers to it as a dragon. Matthew Stover calls it the dragon. And as each chapter goes, as it flows, it goes from the stomach up to the heart, up to the throat, until it just surfaces. And all of a sudden he is this dragon. And that happens with Mustafar. And it's amazing the way he tells it, because in the movie, you miss that. You miss how mentally, emotionally, physically sick Anakin Skywalker is. The extent of his turn. He can't sleep. He's throwing up. He doesn't know up from down anymore. He knows right from wrong, but at the same time, what choice does he have at this point? He's so completely in disarray. He's a mess. He's a hot mess. I mean, to put it that way. And then you get the Padme line. You get that whole political platform that is missing from that movie. And it's sad because you get the infancy of the rebellion right there, and we don't have it. I get time. I get that was an issue. I get that it was more Anakin's story and not hers, but the whole story revolves around what's going on in the political world behind Palpatine's back. So in the novel, all that's there. It's just absolutely lovely. And I love it. I mean, Matthew Stover tells a great story with this. I mean, the dialogue is great. The dynamic between Obi-Wan and Anakin is electric. I mean, the moment he gives us more of those moments that we don't see on screen. I mean, they're there, but you don't hear it. You don't know what's going on. Like, there's a moment where they're in the elevator shaft, right? Anakin's got Obi-Wan over his shoulder, and Obi-Wan finally comes to, and the first thing he sees is Anakin's butt. And at that moment in the book, he's thinking to himself, well, this is why all the girls like to watch Anakin Skywalker walk by in the corridor. He's face to face with it. He sees it. And it's one of those moments that you bust out laughing, But it's just a great book. Labyrinth of Evil, which is Legends, but it's the prequel. to Revenge of the Sith. It's written by James Luceno. That George had his hand in because he wanted, who knew what was going to happen? What happened, right?
Yeah. Right.
So he wanted, it's very similar to Catalyst, leading into Rogue One. That's the best way to explain it. It doesn't really take away from what we see on screen. It actually adds,
it adds and supports it. Yeah.
Right. Because there's that moment in Revenge of the Sith where they finally land on Coruscant after the whole Dooku moment. No one knows what really happens except for Anakin and Palpatine, of course, Dooku, but he's not around to talk about it.
Yeah.
Literally.
They never had anymore, but yeah.
Right. And Obi-Wan tells him that business on Cato Nemodia, that doesn't count. Because that's in the Labyrinth of Evil book.
Yes.
It's in there. He's gassed to the point where he's like intoxicated, and literally Anakin again has to carry him out. And he's so like drunk and it's just high, and the things he's saying is hilarious. And Anakin literally saves the day. And it's just, so that's why he goes, that doesn't count.
Right. That relationship, you make a good point. That relationship is much strongly enforced in the novel Revenge of the Sith, and you see that. And I think a lot of that too. Like, if I could just real quickly, when you look at like Claudia Gray and what she's doing with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, and certainly now with some of the stuff that you're seeing in the Old Republic. My God, listen to me. The High Republic.
It's all the same.
Yeah, it's all the same. But it almost feels like she is kind of shadowing a lot of. There's some of the parallels and some of the strong bonds and those connections, those intimate inside moments between Master and Padawan that we don't get to see on screen. To your point, they're just trying to get the story right. They're trying to get the story along, and they need to focus on certain elements. And I would agree that Revenge of the Sith is one of the best books that's out there for other reasons, like selfish reasons. There's so much more that happens that you don't see in the book. Everything for, especially like towards the very end when Anakin is finally, crossed over and the turmoil and all the fallout of that, there's a lot there that is never really talked about. And it's not technically, I guess it wouldn't be canon, I guess. But I don't know, who knows these days, right? The standards seem they may change a little bit now, but no, it's a great selection, a great book. And if you haven't had a chance to pick that book up, buy it and then just use it as it's almost like a source book, right? There's so much material in there.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, well let's do this. Let's talk about the selfishly. Let's talk about the Cantina Cast because I want to know. And so here's the thing: for all of the guests that we plan on bringing on, I'm not doing a whole lot of legwork in terms of trying to find out, what you did, why this and all that, because I'm like when you were talking about all the stories, it didn't click for me that Idiot's Array was all tied to the Cantina and Tarkin's Top Shelf and all that. I think that's fascinating. And Mike, I hate you because you've never told me this story. He's on, by the way.
Hi.
Yeah, but I do want to know. So let's start at the very beginning. Maybe kind of just talk about how did you even get involved in this ragtag group of people way back in the day, and what year was it, and all that stuff.
I feel like we're a bunch of misfits.
Yeah, well,
I want to say it had to be officially. I was brought on, I think, in 2014, but I think the reaching out to me happened. Wow, I'm really dating it. Went back to I think 2013 when I was a guest on Coffee with Kenobi, episode 10.
Oh wow,
their Anakin show. Of course, they had me on for that. And Mike and Joe, I guess, listened. Whatever. I don't recall, but I know because they, Coffee with Kenobi was coming on board, and the podcasters tend to all, get together, I guess. So whatever they
collaborate, talk to each other.
Yeah, collaborate. They must have talked about it or whatever, and they reached out and asked me to come on. I guess I came on for a few shows. I came on before it was official. I came on to do the Padme breakdown episode and something else. I don't recall, but good conversations. They're old, but good conversations. And then they finally, I think it was Mike that initially reached out to me and said, we're thinking about expanding and we need a website. And I know you're right for Coffee with Kenobi, which I was, regularly. So he asked if I'd come on and, be their featured blogger and maybe do some book reviews. So that's how that started. So we had to, start PRing and reaching out, and he wasn't having any luck and Joe wasn't having any luck. So I started, and I don't remember how many times I nagged, but I have some friends in the group for, in this community for years because of the old hyperspace. So reach out to Mark Newbold, who's now with Fantha Tracks. Back then it was Jedi News. And before that it was some lightsaber or something. I think it was just lightsaber. And I reached out to Trisha Barr. And she's like, you got to be a nag. Just do it every day. Do it every day. Hit them up every day. Eventually they're just going to get tired of you and they're going to give it to you. Yeah. So,
yeah. Persistence, right.
Persistence. Yes. She goes, but just be kind. So I was, I'm like, sorry for bombarding your email again and blah, blah, blah. And, and finally it started working, so I started getting some of the books. And at that time we were all getting the books, but I would read them as fast as I can so I could get something on the website. Mm-hmm. I started enlisting writers to come on. And that was my job. I got to credential them, see what they were up to, see where they were with writing. And they could submit and pitch ideas. And of course I'd run it by the guys, to make sure it wouldn't go against what they were going to be podcasting about next time or whatever.
Right.
So we did that. But I also went as far as, if Mike's listening, he's probably be like going, oh. But I even went as far as I would actually, at the time, I would write their descriptions for the podcast.
Oh,
yeah. So I was doing that too as well. So I was doing everything I can, plus editing every single thing that went up. So it was a lot.
Yeah, it sounds like they kept you pretty busy.
Yeah.
Did you feel like this is what you signed up for, or was it like, really, guys, you want me to do now what kind of thing? Or
well, and then they wanted to hear from me, like what I thought of things, and and I don't think they bargained for
right.
It's like, well, if you want my perspective, I always said to them that I was, because we talked about this off air a bit, that I always felt that when I would say something related to Star Wars, it was like crickets. But then as soon as, I hate to say it, a man would stand up and say the same thing, bam, it went viral. Mm-hmm. I'm like, what the heck? I just said the same thing, but no one cared. And I always said I felt like Luke, where, in Jabba's palace, I must be allowed to speak.
Right. Yes.
Please hear me. I wanted this voice, and, but yet when it came to stuff like this, I would become like physically ill. It was hard to break into this. It really was, for someone who's more, I'm a book person. I'm an introvert. I like to sit down and read, and writing about it. This is the trick. You can go back and edit 200, 400, 500 times. And when you put it out there, it's pristine. Podcasting's not the same way.
You can, but it takes way so much time that you don't really want to go there, right? Yeah.
It's very difficult to get your audio just so. So, and what you say, correct? You can't go back and, scratch that word. I want to use this one set. No, you can't do that.
Yep.
So, but that's really it in a nutshell. It's a big nutshell, but that's...
Yeah, it sounds like, again, you wore a lot of proverbial hats along the way, and your name is still out there. In fact, there's some things that are still out there. I mean, all the shows are out there. The show notes are still out there. We haven't done anything with them. They've never been archived.
Wow.
And so sometimes I go back there because, honestly, I go back there much like Lucasfilm does to go back to some of the old artwork and stuff. Some of the ideas are still relevant. Some of them are not. Mm-hmm. But I do go back there from time to time when I'm looking for inspiration and like, okay, what can we talk about? What have we not talked about? What have they already covered? And so I see your name come up from time to time in all of that. But as you were talking there, I had another question that popped up because Jonesy and I talk about this a lot. But do you ever find yourself going back and listening to any of those shows? And it's okay if you don't, but I'm just curious as to whether or not that's of any interest, or do you feel like, ooh, I don't know what I would have said, or even your own shows. Do you go back and listen to your own shows?
This is where my co-host gets so mad at me, especially Devin, because she takes such a long time and she puts such effort into our editing process with Canata Castle. And it's great because she actually went to school for editing. She used to do senior videos back on VHS and go in and film all the football players and this and that. And then she would mesh it all together, edit it beautifully. And this would be their graduation thing. Like this is what she used to do, film and audio editing. So she's great at it. She's awesome. I don't like to listen to myself. So I don't go back and listen. Mm-hmm. It's really hard. I will do the live, like the podcast stage stuff, because that's, for me, that's something to be humble about, because not everyone gets that opportunity. Yeah. We must have done something right to get there. So, yeah, no, it's very hard for me. I haven't listened to that stuff probably since they came out. But I remember a lot of what I've said. Do I wish I can go back and change some of it? Probably now that we have a little more
Yes.
detailed new content. Yeah.
Right.
But
Yeah, some things get confirmed, and I've made a
exactly.
fool of myself in speculation, but that's okay. That's the show, right? I mean, I
That's
love
the fun
doing
of
that
it.
and talking about it. And we get some things right, and we get a lot of things wrong. But I'm the same way. I don't really go back and listen to much.
I know, it's terrible, isn't it?
It is.
We're bad.
Yeah, we are bad. But
Shame on us.
so Mike just said, just post the show. Don't waste time editing. And I can't tell you.
That's Mark Suter.
Is it? Yeah.
He's really quick at it. He renders it, and that's about it. And it's fine. I mean, our audio doesn't sound as, not to toot our own horn, but I've heard some pretty bad audio out there. I'm not going to name any names.
Right. No, I'm with you there.
So it's like, I'm
bad.
happy for the people that I work with because they do a nice job.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so here's another kind of a deep question, or maybe it's not, but so looking back over the course of, we're obviously celebrating 10 years, 2011 to 2021.
Wow.
A
you guys
lot
are old.
don't remind me. A lot has changed at least from my perspective, in my opinion, a lot has changed in Star Wars. Some good, a lot good, some bad. But if you had to kind of what for you, I guess from your perspective, what do you see as some of the bigger changes, and what do you feel is so different now than where Star Wars fandom or just Star Wars in general was 10 years ago?
Well, Star Wars now has a baby, Grogu. So I think
baby!
that's
I was
exciting.
Like, wait, what? Yes, no,
Star
congratulations.
Wars, Star Wars has a baby.
It does.
That's something I never expected. Here's the thing. Star Wars has grown. It's evolved beyond anything I ever thought possible.
Yeah.
Good and bad, whatever you want to call it. The amount of Star Wars that is out there today, I'm sorry, I never dreamed would be possible.
100%.
So I'm thankful for that because there were so many people screaming, for more stuff. And then when it started coming out, then they were complaining about the new stuff.
Right.
And it's like, okay, what do you want?
Yeah, can't have it both ways.
And I think what I've learned, and it took me a long time, and being a podcaster, I think, has really helped me look at it this way. And it's hard to teach an old person new ways to look at things. It really is. I'm not going to lie. The saying's there for a reason. It's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. It really is. But I've learned it's best to go into this new stuff without expectations. You'll be a lot happier.
Yeah.
So I've learned that. Speculating's fun, but don't marry a concept.
Right.
Do not do that to yourself because it's, as Luke says, this is not going to go the way you think.
And it never does.
And it never does.
Yeah.
So I've learned that. I've learned to take it for what it is. But see, I think the reason why I can do that is that I'm a backstory character person. I like to dissect the character. I like to know from the beginning, middle, and the end how that arc is going. Ships, bombings, warfare, whatever. Okay.
Right.
I like to get into the minds and know how they tick.
Yeah.
So I think that's how I can escape all that discourse and stuff. I can't escape it when I'm online. It's there.
Yeah.
But I think in that aspect, Star Wars has grown because obviously Disney now has it. And without that, we wouldn't have what we have. 2, we have internet like we didn't have in the beginning.
Yeah.
So you're going to see more of the ugly than you are of the good. And the thing is, the people that don't like what's out there are louder than the people that do like it.
Yes.
If you notice, misery loves company. So whenever anything in general gets posted that's negative, doesn't have to be Star Wars, that seems to go viral more than something positive.
Absolutely.
And that's sad.
Yep.
That's it. Is this what we come to? But in Star Wars, so in general, I'm happy. I don't discredit the legends. I still go back to them. They're great stories. Just because they don't, fall in line with where we are in the story doesn't mean they could not have existed in an alternate universe, because I think that's where we're going to end up going anyway. To be honest with you, I think there's going to be different timelines, which there already are. Look at the Thrawn stuff, which I absolutely love, by the way.
Yes.
If you haven't read the new Thrawn stuff, oh my God. It's just amazing.
Yep.
But that stuff doesn't fit really with everything else that we have been following.
Yep.
It's its own little world, which I love that. It's separate. I'm all about that. Give me something new,
Yes.
but give me characters that I can invest in, like Omega. I mean, absolutely love her. So, I mean, just like, again, live action, we've got more animation, all this beautiful story. Bring it on, you know?
Right.
It is what it is. You're going to like some, you're not going to like some.
Yes. Yeah. And and we echo that on the show quite a bit. Is Star Wars is at the point now where it's just so big that to kind of go into Star Wars with the expectation that you're going to love everything is just unreasonable, right?
Yep.
There's too many too many people that are contributing to Star Wars that were brought up with stories that resonated with them, themes that resonated with them more than others, the shipping and all that stuff. There's all these different levels now of Star Wars, and you can't just say it's either all good or all bad. You have to honestly just go find what you like, love it, and stop making everybody else mad and posting hate about the stuff that you don't like because it wasn't written for you. I hate to break it to you, but it wasn't, right? I mean, that's the whole point. It was written for a wide variety of people from different ages, sexes, origins, all that stuff. I mean, that's just, it literally is that big. And I don't foresee, Star Wars ever regressing in any way, right? It's only going to get wider. It's only going to be more inclusive, more expansive as more and more people come into the fold and Disney continues to grow this. So get used to it, right? Mm-hmm. It's going to continue to evolve and change, and you may not like it all. You're not going to like it all, but just find the stuff that you love, right? It's that big.
I agree.
So that's great. And 10 years is a lifetime in Star Wars, and you're right. I mean, the amount of material we have coming out, like, mind blowing. Like you and I were okay with, the droids cartoons after Return of the Jedi and the Ewoks cartoon, which thankfully Disney Plus finally released. At least the Ewoks.
Have you gone back?
Oh my gosh, they're so terrible. I don't know why I love them, and I'm like, how did I watch this thing? I guess I had a bowl of cereal and sugar in front of me, so whatever. Exactly. I watch whatever I want to watch.
You had your C-3POs.
Yes, C-3POs. But with especially when you think about like back then, that the dark times, as we like to call them, right, from about 85 to about 89, right before the Timothy Zahn book came out. That was, like you said, there were people just clamoring for anything. I remember they released they had the little bendables back around, I'm going to say around 1990-ish, around that time.
God.
And that was like the only thing that had come out in months, if not years. Right. And people were like going out and buying these cheap little Leia bendables because there wasn't a lot of Star Wars. Yeah, exactly. Right. And it wasn't until the Thrawn books came out, or the Timothy Zahn books came out, that it finally kicked all of that off. So, but to your point, I remember people saying, we don't have any Star Wars, this stinks. And then fast forward 10 years from there, and it was like, oh, there's too much Star Wars. We have all these books. We have all these comics. I can't keep up with it.
We're oversaturated.
Yeah. So it's history repeating itself, I guess. So, but buckle up. We got a lot more Star Wars coming. I don't even know how we're going to cover all of this stuff. So I'm sure you guys are challenged with that as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's okay.
Yes. Okay, so last question before we get out of here. I guess, I will be doing this until Mike says I've been fired or I've croaked over and passed this mortal coil. But if you wanted to say something to the future or even the existing hosts of the Cantina Cast, what words of advice or anything you'd like to say to those that may come after us and then come after you?
Come after me? Don't do that. Well, to you guys, I absolutely love what you two are doing. I have to say that because we were talking off air, and the interaction that you guys do now, the involvement, that's something I really was hoping for and hoping to be a part of. Granted, it happened after the fact, but that's okay. I'm really happy that you guys have found a way to do that. And it's,
thank you.
Yeah, it's just heartwarming because you guys are just very welcoming. That's not saying that the old way wasn't welcoming. I'm just saying it's not just two people sitting down and talking Star Wars. You're involving the audience. And I think that's fantastic. So good job with that.
Yes, thank you.
To Joa, I will always wish him well. I hope he is doing well. I hope he's found some peace. And with Mike, we're still friends, so this feels weird. I want to thank him, which I do anyway. He's probably shaking his head going, I want to thank him for always kicking my butt, lighting a fire under my butt, because had he not pushed me, I don't think I'd be where I am. So thanks for the old microphone that you brought me years ago, because now I have this one. But basically, he was trying to tell me, you're going to speak and you're going to do it now.
Yeah, right.
So, had it not been for that, I mean, like I said, he's one of those that will criticize and critique. And I had a hard time dealing with that. I really did. I mean, we would have fights, over it. But he's taught me to learn to take that and to become better and push myself. So here I am today. So thanks, Mike.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So I lied. I got one last question. And this one is, I kind of want to know from you, I guess, your personal favorite moment. I mean, you've obviously, I posted the pictures of you when you guys were at a celebration back in, was it 2015?
Yeah.
And you guys, yeah, you're right. You guys look so young. I mean, no offense, but you guys were like, you guys were babies back then. It's only been like 10 years or how many? 6 years? Whatever.
I was really young. I feel like I was a lot younger.
Yeah. But if you had to pinpoint just your favorite moment, something that really stood out for you in your time while on the Cantina Cast, what was that moment and why?
It's funny because it's my fear that turned into probably my favorite memory in podcasting ever, like in Star Wars probably ever. We went to Indiana Comic-Con. Joa put in, he reached out and submitted this panel and he got it. And then he came and approached Mike and I and said, I need you guys to come to Indiana. It didn't go over very well at the time. Yeah, right. But we went and I was scared to death because I've never been in front of a live audience. I was freezing at the time. Like I literally froze. And I just remember sitting down and Mike grabbing the bottom of my chair and pulling it right next to, because it was a wastebasket. He goes, well, if you got to do it, it's right there. And I'm like, wow, but this is the relationship, but right. That moment when we went on and we were on video, and I didn't want to do video, but we did video. We were live in the audience. It was phenomenal because we did such a great job. But then there was a part where we all took a turn to say what we thought would happen by the end of the sequel trilogy. Now, granted, keep this in mind, this was before Carrie Fisher's passing. Yeah. So when it was my turn, oh gosh, and I just remember like getting sweaty, the cold, clammy
the anxiety,
feeling.
Yeah, that was creeping up on you. Yep.
And he made a Han movie, said something really snarky, and I just went. I mean, I told him to shut up, and like in front of everybody, and everyone's laughing. And you guys can go back and hear it. It is a great, great panel. Yeah. And I basically said, in my opinion, it's going to end with Leia having the Luke moment. She's going to be with her son. She is going to redeem her son. And I went on into this detailed thing. These girls in the back were screaming their head off. And that moment, I realized, you need to do this. You need to keep doing this because there are other people like you, women, people of color. They need a voice. A lot of them don't have this opportunity. And I need to do this. I need to keep speaking this way because if not me, who else? Yep. I felt like Leia at that moment from Rebels when she tells Ezra, I need to fight for those that cannot. And it was just a great moment because it was my fear that turned into a great experience. And that's probably my favorite Cantina Cast moment. Yeah. So.
That's a great story. And it speaks to what we talked about earlier, right? Just the varying opinions and the interests and all of that, and having that moment of clarity of where like, whoa, this is a sign, right? For you, it's, I need to do this because there are other people that are out there and they need to be heard and they need someone to advocate for the stories and what resonates with them and all of that. And I think we see that today. I mean, that's kind of like one of the biggest things, as much as we don't like social media at times and as much as it can be a poison and a dark cloud over our shoulders, it is an outlet for all of the positive, and it is an outlet for other people to express their level of interest or whatever floats their boat, if you will, in Star Wars, and know that they're not alone. There's so many people out there that like these different things, and so that's that's kind of what you're seeing there. Of course, there was no internet there; you were just doing it, and you got the feedback directly from the people there. But same kind of thing happens almost day to day when we post things about Star Wars.
Awesome.
So, but yeah. Okay, well we're going to end it there. I mean, this went really well for me. And I'm so excited about the prospect of doing this with other, past contributors, hosts, that kind of thing, because I think everybody's got a story. And what really keeps me going in all of this, right, at the end of the day, is the passion for Star Wars and seeing it in other people. And this is exactly what it was. I mean, you came on and talked about a lot of things that were very personal to you, but at the same time, it tells me why the show has become so successful and why it continues to be successful, because of people like you and Mike and the Joas, right? They all had the same passion, right? And it comes out in the work that they do and the contributions that they make and the shows that they put together and the panels and all of that, right? People see that, they understand it, and they realize, hey, those guys get it. They really do love this stuff. We may not always be right. Most of the time we're wrong, but they get it, and they see that. So thank you for coming on for and doing this. Really appreciate it. Okay. Before we get out of here, why don't you tell the fine folks that are listening and watching where they can find more of you and all your shows? This is your opportunity to plug it. You've got 5 seconds. No, I'm kidding. You've got as much time as you want. I'm only kidding.
Best place, so if you want to interact with me, is on Twitter. That's where I mainly hang out. So that's at URAngelB. I'm actually at that tag, URAngelB, on Instagram as well. Facebook under my name, Becca Benjamin. So, but I'm not there as often. Shows, Tarkin Topshelf, just basically put that in your search bar. It's going to come up everywhere. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Let's see. Kanata's Castle is the same way, but on Twitter, it's Castle Kanata. Don't ask. We let them run with it, and that's how it came up. It's Yoda speak. Anyway, and of course, Pitiful Little Band is on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We're not on Instagram yet, but it's in the works. Also, one thing I did forget to mention, Tarkin's Top Shelf is affiliated now. Yes, we are partners with Inside Editions. So
congratulations.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's one of those things Mark Suter loves us, because he goes, so many times I listen to these other podcasts and they have all these sponsors that don't make any sense. At least ours makes sense.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, read. So Inside Editions, if you go on their website, just actually click in, do Inside Editions /discount /Tarkin35. Use that with Tarkin35 code. You will save 35% off your entire order.
Oh, wow. That's a huge, discount.
Huge savings, especially even on sales. I mean, please do that, because we don't do Patreon.
Patreon, yeah.
Yeah, we don't do that. First of all, I don't have the time. Second, I don't feel like I should charge people money to listen to me, because I'm not official for anything. I'm just, it's a perspective. That's it. But at least this, you guys get something, we get something. And that's how that works. So
awesome.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for coming on the show. Good luck to you in all of your endeavors. I'm sure you're going to pile more onto your back, because that's what you do, right?
Yeah. I've got something going, but I can't talk about it at the moment. But anyway.
Yeah, we'll tune in and find out. So yes, thanks for being on here. And again, be sure to follow us on all of the media outlets. And this is where Jonesy usually comes in and does it. I'm going to do a terrible job, so I'm not even going to try it. But you know where to find us. And look forward to doing more of these shows with, again, former hosts and contributors and all that. And don't forget that this Sunday, we have our official 10-year anniversary show. I think it's I'm not sure if it's a bonus show or we're going to label that as episode 371. That's to be determined, but that'll be myself, Mike, and Jonesy. We've got a number of questions that we're going to talk to Mike about. I think he's got some questions for us. We got a couple games that Mike doesn't know about, and we're not going to let him know until the very end. So that should be a lot of fun. So yeah, tune in for that. It should be a really good hoot. So with that, again, Becca, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
And for everybody else, we'll see you guys in the next episode.
You're still listening? Wow, that's amazing. Well, I'm here to give you the disclaimer. Normally we do a big, long, drawn-out disclaimer thing saying what's what and who's what and all that other stuff, but I think you guys kind of know that Lucasfilm and Disney have no affiliation with us at all, and we have none with them. We talk about Star Wars, which is their property, and all that other good, fun stuff, but I think you can tell which is our stuff and which is their stuff. If you can't, well, then send a lawyer to send an email to me, and I'll be glad to chat with them. Other than that, you know what's what, so that's your disclaimer.